nervous because I'm here now.
Hey guys, welcome into another episode of 410 Sports Talk. James Haskell here with my co-host Glenn Martin. You guys know us by now. We're officially big time. 1,000 subscribers. Congrats, Glenn. Really
yes,
excited.
you as well. Yes.
Thanks for all the support. Before we get into the show, and I'm going to lay it out for you, I just want to take a quick moment because as anybody in the Ravens fan base knows, the Orioles fan base, Maryland sports, Mo Gaba, one of the voices of the Baltimore Ravens and Baltimore Orioles, young man who was battling cancer for a significant amount of time, has passed away. So we want to pay our respects to Mo Gaba. Awesome kid, most contagious laugh ever. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. He's a legend in this area. Absolutely. I mean, the positive attitude that kid kept is, I guess, a lesson to all of us, you know, and also the courage and all that he brought. I mean, it's just incredible. I remember a few years ago, I had to take a sedative just to go to the dentist. I was so nervous. And to see what he went through, what Mo went through, and came out of it with just the most positive attitude, like you said, the most contagious laugh. And, just an inspiration. So he will be sorely missed, but an awesome gesture by the Ravens and Orioles. I believe the Ravens did, too. I know the Orioles put him in their Hall of Fame, only the second fan ever to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I think the Ravens followed suit, if I remember right.
Yep.
So, awesome. He will be sorely missed, absolutely.
Absolutely. So want to take a second to recognize him. The other thing we want to do is lay out the show for you guys. If you can't notice my virtual background, we're going to get into it again. This might be salt on the wound for some of you folks, but that's okay. We did a video that you guys can go check out on Lamar himself being ranked number 1 in the top 100 list. But this video is going to be our expanded look at the list, focus on the Ravens. We're going to get into some snubs, some surprises, other stuff. So we're going to kick it off and lay out the Ravens that were on the list, and then we'll talk about some guys that we think should have been. What do you think, Glenn?
Yeah, and I just want to make sure everyone knows, because I was kind of unclear, the players are the ones voting for this list. So if you disagree, that's fine, but you are disagreeing with the NFL players, not us. This is not our list. This is us commenting on a list voted on by the players.
Good point. That's not our list.
Not our list. I mean, I see a lot of people, saying this list is crazy, and it's like, well, but the people voting on it, I mean, who else would you rather vote on it other than the players? Like, who else has a better perspective of who's good and who's not than the players?
Right.
Right. So, I mean, yeah, so I respect this list more than any other list. You know, most lists are voted on by media, fans, which have natural bias, and so do players, but I trust the players' take the most. But anyway, let's get into some of the Ravens. I guess we'll go down the list and tell you their names and where they ranked.
Yeah.
So obviously Lamar Jackson, number 1, the top of the top, making his debut to the list, going from 0 to 100, I guess. He went from not being on the list to number 1 in just 2 seasons. So impressive by Lamar, and we're certainly proud to have him as the quarterback of the Ravens. Moving down the list next, go all the way down to number 44 with Mark Ingram coming in. We'll get back to that. Number 53, Marcus Peters, everyone's new favorite cornerback. And then number 74, Ronnie Stanley, the all-pro left tackle, comes in at 74. And right behind him is Earl Thomas, a guy that kind of got a lot of skepticism on whether he was worth the money that he was paid. But according to the other players, he played damn well last year for a brand new system. So pretty impressive. And then newly acquired, we haven't seen him in purple just yet, but Calais Campbell comes in at number 79, brought in to help stuff that run and help the linebackers be free. And then number 86, maybe our fan favorite on defense, is Marlon Humphrey. And then let's see. That's it. That rounds it out. So how many we got? What?
7, right?
7. Yeah, 7. Wow. Okay, so that leads the league. Us and the Ravens and the Saints both lead the league with 7 selections in the top 100. So that's great. I mean, that shows that you have roster depth. That's really a testament more to Eric and Ozzie when you see they lead the league in selections. That's it's pretty impressive. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the other thing that's interesting to me is that we only have 2 players in the top 50, 5, you were talking about depth, in the bottom 50. I think that's just a really interesting observation, because I think the Ravens have always been known for, like you're talking about, that depth. We might not have now all these guys are stars in their own right, but we might not be loaded like top heavy with the most superstars. Like, I think of the Steelers with their, what do they call it? The triple B or whatever, the 3 Bs or whatever it was.
Killer bees.
The killer bees. They're real killers. Good job, guys. You guys won a lot.
Well, they were.
Yep. How many Super Bowls they get together?
They got 1 together.
Wait, the 3 of them? No, they got 0 together.
Oh, the 3 of them. I thought you were talking. Well, AB got 1, right? And Big Ben got 1, right? Well, Big Ben got 2.
The 3 of them together is what I was referring to. Right. But what I'm saying is that we're not a top heavy. However, the middle of our roster is extremely strong. Now, the other thing I want to mention is that while we have 7, I still think it's a snub to a couple players on the Ravens. I remember when you saw the list, the guy that you brought up immediately was Mark Andrews.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think when you look at our offense and the amount of opportunities he received, I don't know if anybody made more of the opportunities than Mark Andrews. I mean, it's hard because you don't want to penalize a guy who's in an offense that just doesn't throw as much as most. And also, not just the offense that tends to run more, but when you're on the best team, you don't throw a lot in the second half of games. So he doesn't have that opportunity like a Darren Waller did to accumulate stats because they weren't often down in the second. I mean, how often was Lamar Jackson sitting on the bench in the fourth quarter of a blowout? Yeah. I guarantee Andrews was right next to him. So, or if he wasn't, he was certainly getting very limited snaps and not getting the ball thrown his way very often. So I think that he certainly was a snub and a guy that should feel upset only because the guys that above him, look, you can make a case. Obviously, George Kittle was the number 1 tight end, in my opinion, last year. And Kelsey, you could argue those 2 are the number 1 and number 2. And then after that, if you want to put Zach Ertz there, I have no problem with that. But then after him, I don't think you put Darren Waller up there just simply on the fact that he had more catches and more yards, just because he was typically down in the second half and they had to throw the ball, so someone had to catch it. I mean, when you look at touchdowns, it's not even close. And we saw an up-close look at Darren Waller when he was with the Ravens. I mean, we remember when he was a wide receiver coming out of Tech. I wouldn't take Darren Waller over him this season, next season, any season. I think the only thing that Waller has over Mark Andrews is top-end speed. Yeah. And outside of that, that's where it ends as far as his advantages. I think Mark Andrews has better hands, better route runner, better at pretty much everything other than speed. So, yeah, I was a little bit offended by that, but
the other thing that I'll add, I think the way that my mind breaks it down is how many tight ends in the league have the same responsibility on their shoulders. Really, while they're tight ends, they're also the number 1 wide receivers. They are carrying the load in the passing game. So like you said, you got Kittle and you got Kelsey, right? I guess you could count Ertz in there because they didn't really have like a number 1 guy, but I don't think it's the same. I don't think he carries the same amount of responsibility, and I don't think Waller does either. The only 3 that belong in that category to me are Kelsey, Kittle, and Andrews. And if I'm not mistaken, Andrews had the most touchdowns last year. Oh, yeah. Like, that has to mean something, guys. Like, that has to mean something. At the end of the day, it's about, just like in basketball, right? It's about putting the ball in the hoop. Yeah. So it's about getting in the end zone. If he's got the most touchdowns, I think that's plenty justifiable, and you have more than just some straws to stand on. You got 2 firm legs to stand on in your argument. So I agree. I think that was a huge snub for him. Insane. Some of the other people that made the list, real head scratchers when you realize that Andrew didn't. Not just at his position, just in general. But who's the other guy you think was a snub? Is there anyone else?
Justin Tucker did not make the list. Now, in fairness, no punter and no kicker made the list. But I don't know how a guy like Justin Tucker isn't on there. I mean, he's the clear-cut number 1 best his position. Nobody, you won't find a single soul that won't have him at the top of their list. Not a single person you could ask won't have Justin Tucker there.
Except the other kickers.
Even them. Even they will, I'm sure game can see game. I mean, there's no way he's not just the best right now. If he continues, which when you look at his last 4 years and the fact that somehow he scored the exact same amount of points for 4 straight years, that's just incredible. So the consistency is, 141 points in 4 straight years, whether we're the 17th ranked offense or the number 1 ranked offense, he's getting points. He's getting the same amount of points. So consistent. If he continues on this trend, he will not just be the best now, he'll be the best to ever do it. I don't think you can take that lightly. I mean, the kicking part of the game is such a huge part. It's such a weapon what the Ravens have, and we see it when the Ravens take on other teams. We see teams forced to make those decisions to go for it on 4th and long, and when they're faced with maybe a 51-yard field goal. That's not even a decision for the Ravens. I mean, I guess it is because our offense is so good that we like to go for it on 4th down here in Baltimore. But if it's 4th and long, the decision's pretty simple because the confidence is there. I just don't know how the clear-cut best ever at his position doesn't crack the top 100.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% here. My opinion is that guys might not respect kickers as real football players or see them as a necessary evil or whatever. However, there's few times in a football game when the entire bench, right, is watching the play. You know what I mean? And when that kicker trots out there, it's just like a closer in baseball. Like Mariano Rivera, when he trots out there to Sandman, everybody's watching, right? And everybody knows what he's going to do, and that makes it even that much harder to execute on it because you know what's happening. And Justin's got to go out there every single time and do it. And there's not very many other players. I mean, there's not really any other situation that simulates that in the NFL except for when it's 4th and 2 and the other team knows we're going to run it.
But even then, you have 11 guys that you can share that burden.
Right.
Yeah,
so I agree with you. He totally deserves to be on this list. I think we should have had 9 guys and led the league.
I think the only reason he didn't make the list is because his peers voted on it. And what do football players look at kickers?
Yeah.
It's not real player. Now, the Ravens look at Justin Tucker a little differently because he's so different. I mean, he was the face of our team until Lamar got here. He is the most charismatic kicker maybe in NFL history.
That is for sure.
So he's not like a normal kicker in the sense that, most kickers don't hang out with their teammates that much. They probably have their core and they stick with their – but Justin Tucker, he cuts it up with the whole team. He's doing post-game press conferences consistently. There's just not many kickers like him. So he's got to make the list. And you're right. I mean, there's no more pressure-packed moment in sports than a clutch field goal. Because you said it, not just the fans, not in the stands, not just everybody on TV, but it's the only play maybe that gets everybody up off the bench and every player and every coach are all looking at you. And here's the thing. If you don't execute, you either do it and you're expected to, so you have to do it, or you miss and it's like there's no middle ground. You either make it and we expect you to, or you miss it and now you're trash and it's like either you get the gold medal or nothing. or you're horrible. Like there's no middle ground there.
If you ain't first, you're last.
So much pressure and the guy never falters. So yeah, impressive.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I totally agree with you there. Let's dig into the ranking of these Ravens players a little bit here. I know that aside from the snubs, we had some surprises and some issues with some of these. So I figured we start from the bottom, if that's cool with you.
Yeah.
Marlon Humphrey ranked 86. The only thing I'm going to say about this, my argument, is that in my heart of hearts, aside from the fact that I'm a biased Ravens fan, if next season I could have Marlon Humphrey or I could have Jalen Ramsey,
no,
I don't care.
Don't even bring up Jalen. How about Logan Ryan ranked 26 spots ahead of him? Go ahead there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's insane to me. And you have some interesting stats on that. But I think it's so skewed. And once again, these are the players here. But the fact that Jalen Ramsey's 37 and Marlon Humphrey is 86, even if you say that Jalen Ramsey's better, I would rather have Marlon. Come on, I don't think the gap is that wide. It's just my point that I was trying to make. But like you said, Logan Ryan is ranked, what, 60th?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh. You got some awesome stats about Logan Ryan.
Well, I mean, look, I'm not trying to like bash on Logan Ryan, but I mean, to me, it's crazy that Marlon Humphrey is not. He's 26 behind him. I mean, just think about it like this. Marlon gave up 53 catches last year, okay? Logan Ryan gave up 80. Logan Ryan had, let's see, 114 targets thrown his way. Marlon had 88. I mean, there's really his grade was far worse than Marlon's. It was let's see, 65, and I'm rounding up. Marlon's was 70, and I'm rounding down. So it's just there's nowhere you can look where if you have 83 solo tackles as a cornerback, I doubt it's because you're just the most phenomenal run supporting corner in history. It's probably because you gave up so many catches that you had to then tackle that guy. I mean, 114 targets, 83. He led the league in solo tackles as a corner. Well, why do corners have a bunch of tackles? Because they gave up all these catches and they got to go tackle the guy. It's not. If you want to argue that Jalen Ryan, I'll let you have that argument. That's fine. If you want to argue that's perfectly fine. But Logan Ryan is not better than Marlon Humphrey in any way. Marlon Humphrey's a better run supporter. He's a better cover guy. He's a better. I mean, yeah, I'm sorry, but that just frustrated the heck out of me that Logan Ryan was not just a little bit higher. He was well higher. He was 26 spots higher. I mean, it's just crazy to me.
I even think it's interesting because some Ravens fans, it's all about style, really, to me, not about who's better than the other. Some Ravens fans will prefer Humphrey over our own guy who's ranked higher than him, Marcus Peters, at 53. There's such a stylistic difference, right, between the two that some people prefer, like, what I would consider Marlon to be like your steady Eddie guy. You know what I mean? Sure tackler, not going to give up a lot of big plays, et cetera, where Marcus is more of the gambler. He's going to get you splash plays, but he's also going to give up some plays. And so that alone too, I don't think that 53 to 86, I don't think that gap is warranted either. So definitely a snub there. I'm sure that Marlon was happy to make the list, but at the same time felt slighted sure.
I mean, I hate to keep busting on Logan Ryan, but when he sees Logan Ryan above him, it's got to absolutely drive him crazy. I mean, it just has to. I mean, because even like there's a bunch of guys above Tre'Davious White, but you could have arguments about, Tre'Davious White. I think he's a really good player. You could at least make that argument. But Richard Sherman, what he's done with the Legion of Boom and all that stuff, right. You can give him that argument. But I just don't know what argument you could make to put Logan Ryan above him. But I wanted to bring up another guy that I feel like is a little bit too low, and that's the next guy. Well, I'm sorry. Yeah. I guess I'm jumping a little bit too much.
No, that's okay.
But the Ronnie Stanley thing really bugs me. And let me explain to you why. He's rated 74th. He was the all-pro offensive tackle in the league last year. He gave up 0 sacks in over 400 pass blocking snaps. And he was a phenomenal run blocker on top. We had the best run blocking in the National Football League. So the fact that he isn't the highest rated tackle surprised me. And when I look and see Laramie Tunsil is 5 spots high, I'm sorry, he's 8 spots higher than him. How is Laramie Tunsil rated higher than him? There's nothing he did that was better than what Ronnie Stanley did. I mean, Ronnie Stanley is an incredible. The thing that I think a lot of people miss are, I kind of give Lamar some of Ronnie's credit. You know what I mean? Like I give Lamar credit for some of Ronnie's progression as a player. But, Ronnie Stanley is not just great as pass blocker, run blocker. The thing that also makes him so special is his athleticism and his size. If you look on some of those long runs that Lamar and some of the running backs bust, if you look 20 yards down the field, who's out there leading the blocks? Way down the field, way further than most offensive linemen would ever even dream to be, and it's Ronnie. I mean, he's a dancing bear out there. His athleticism and his size is incredible. Obviously great in the locker room and in the community. I mean, just incredible player. So I think he should have been the high. If you want to argue David Bakhtiari from the Packers because he is an incredible pass blocker, maybe that. But Laramie Tunsil, no way he should be rated higher than the all-pro left tackle, the best to do it in 2019. I just don't get it.
Yeah, my thing is that what else could he have done? Like, at the end of the day, what else could he have done? He comes to the table with an all-pro, badge on his shirt, and he's got 0 sacks that he gave up. What else can you do in that point? And I agree with you. Ronnie was an all-state basketball player in high school. I mean,
Incredible
the dude
athlete.
is a freak athlete. And I think that part of his progression, not just Lamar, but the system fits his athleticism, like his style of play, a little better. I agree with you. Obviously, Lamar helps because it doesn't take a lot of sacks. But I think stylistically, the scheme that we run is more favorable to a player like Stanley.
Yeah.
So I agree with you there. But yeah, I mean, I can't look at the end of the day, if that's the third, I mean, what are the most important positions on the field? You got running back. Oh gosh. You got quarterback. You got edge rusher, and you got left tackle. I mean, what's more important than that?
Yeah, usually it's the quarterback, the guy that protects the quarterback, and the guy that go tackles the quarterback.
So if he's the best tackle in the league,
yeah,
right, he should at least be in the top 50. So anyway,
and let me just go to double down on this. If you go if you go to Pro Football Focus, Laramie Tunsil had an overall grade of 75.8, which he was clearly the better pass blocker. He had an 89 pass blocking grade and only a 69 run blocking grade. Where if you look at Ronnie Stanley, it's not close. Again, 75 overall for Laramie, 88.5 overall for Ronnie Stanley with a 93.3 passing grade and a 76. He's better at run blocking. He's better at pass blocking. He had 938 offensive snaps, gave up 0 sacks.
Jeez,
I mean, penalties. You want to go to penalties? You'll love this. Laramie Tunsil had 18 penalties last year. He led the league. Ronnie Stanley, 4. Like, what area did Tunsil outperform Stanley? I mean, there's literally 0 areas where Laramie outperformed him.
The negotiating table, I guess.
Well, yeah. He's a hell of a contract negotiator.
Or friggin' just the Texans just went along for a ride and they're a bunch of morons.
It's like O'Brien just handed him a blank check.
Jeez. Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, I'm gonna go off of that. But that really, that bummed me out. All right, so who's next, Jimbo?
Yeah, so we kind of skipped over a couple there, but that's no big deal. Yeah. I also think I don't want to spend too much time here because he hasn't been a Ravens uniform yet. But Calais Campbell was ranked 79, and I guess based on the fact that his production was kind of down last year, I mean, he still had a great year, but he's kind of a victim of his own success, right? So a down year for Calais as production-wise. I think last year he had 6 sacks or something like that.
I'm about to pull him up now.
And so, I mean, part of that is, like I said, he's a victim of his own success. At the end of the day, though, I just don't know if that warrants him being 79. I think if you look at some of the guys that are in front of him, Jarrell Casey, now he's a D tackle, but there are a lot of guys that I think he should be in front of. That he's not for some reason. You know what? That's fine.
Yeah, I think he's older. That's probably what dinged him, and the decline, the rapid and incredible decline that was that rising Jaguars team that had all those young, hopeful players, and then it just right down the tube. So I feel like a lot of his drop in production was mainly just because the team was clearly tanking, and
right.
I mean, they traded away all their best players. I mean, it's hard to perform, but I will say this. He was still great. If you look at a non-biased grades from, PFF or something, he was graded phenomenally. I mean, the guy was incredible. He's still an excellent run defender and a guy that'll help the teammates around him. I'm with you. I thought he was a little lower than he should have been.
Yeah, and then Earl's at 75. I'm okay with that. A lot of people, like you said, there was some skepticism around Earl, especially myself included at the beginning of the season. As the season went on, he seemed to gain a better grasp of the defense. And, every game I think he had more and more of an impact until the Tennessee game when he got embarrassed. But at the end of the day, Earl is – I don't know how many safeties you put in front of him, right? Even at his age right now, I really don't know how many safeties you feel comfortable putting in front of him. So I'm okay with that. But I want to spend some time here, unless you got some more comments there. And then Marcus Peters at 53, I'm okay with that one too. I want to spend some time on Mark Ingram.
Yeah.
So he was ranked 44. It's crazy to think about this. So you go Lamar at 1. Our next highest guy is Mark Ingram at 44. And look, I'm throwing no shade at Mark. None at all.
Yeah.
Because I'll also admit that before we, for you original fans, when we were just the pod and not the YouTube channel, I said that I don't know how much of a substantial difference there is in what Mark brings in comparison to what Gus brings. And I still stand by that to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But
you're talking about on the field only.
On the field. Sorry. Yeah. On the field. As far as like stylistically, they're very similar. Mm-hmm. But Mark is just a step or two better, right? Is the way that I saw it in my head, right?
I think that it's hard to quantify because I think a lot of it Gus's biggest fault is it comes down to his vision.
Yeah.
And it's hard for the normal fan because we don't know exactly which hole they're supposed to go. We don't know the exact play design. It's kind of hard to, but I think it comes down to vision and maybe a little top end speed that gives Ingram the advantage.
And I learned a lot watching Ingram last year about how good he is. I mean, he's got great feet. He's got great hands. He's got great vision, great instincts. He's physical, like things that Gus still needs to work on. Mark's feet at his size, you talk about dancing bear. Now he's not a tackle, but the feet that he has at his size, he's not a tall guy, but he's a big guy, is pretty incredible. So, however, that being said, I don't know if 44 is the correct ranking for Mark Ingram. I thought that he was ranked a little high. In fact, all the Ravens that we just named, if I had to make my own top 100 list, would be ranked higher than Mark. So, I mean, honestly, would you put Mark in front of Ronnie Stanley, in front of Calais Campbell, like in your mind?
I wouldn't. I would not. Now, it's tough for me because I value what Mark brings to the locker room so much. I think that part of his game is probably the most impressive to me. And it's not even his game; it's his leadership. To me, is second to none. I don't know if he's probably the strongest and best leader we have on the team right now. Right? I mean, as far as vocal, I mean, obviously Lamar is our leader. He's our quarterback. He's the MVP, and just the most lovable superstar, as I said in history. But Ingram was our vocal leader. He's our hype man. I love that he has –
he's the king's gesture.
Well, he is, but I love the fact that a lot of people, especially when you talk about high-level athletes, have trouble gushing and really complimenting their teammates. And he has no problem being his teammate's hype man, and I love that about him. I mean, who doesn't like playing with a guy who's hyping you up? I mean, it's hard because a lot of guys are just – I don't want to throw him too much praise because – what about me? That's just how a lot of guys are on a lower level, much less a professional level where their confidence has got to be through the roof to even come close to succeeding. But I agree with you. I think that when I look at even, not just Ravens, when I look at other running backs around the league that are lower than him, when I look at Josh Jacobs at 72 from the Raiders, he had more forced missed tackles than anyone in the league, and he only played, I think, 12 or 13 games.
And that's probably why he was ranked a little lower, right?
Probably, but let's remember that Mark Ingram didn't play a full 16, and
that's true.
But I don't want to get on Mark because I like Mark Ingram so much. I think he's so good for our team. All the things you mentioned, the physicality he runs with, he showed that he's got better hands than I think a lot of people gave him credit for when he was in New Orleans.
He can do everything.
Kamara. Yeah, I mean he can do it all, and yeah, he's so great in the locker room. I like him, but I thought he was a little bit too high for me. I kind of like you. I don't know how he's above Ronnie Stanley when Ronnie Stanley was the best at his position. I don't think anyone would even come close to arguing that Ingram is the best at his position. When you look around the league, he's clearly not that. Yeah, I'm surprised. I thought Ronnie Stanley would be way higher and Ingram would be lower.
Now, let me ask you this last question, though, because this could justify Mark's rank here. Now, he had a great season last year, but let's call it what it is. Are you taking, if you had to pick today for next year, Aaron Jones or Mark Ingram?
I mean, see, to me, that's not like a clear cut. I'm not a big Aaron Jones guy, and I don't think the Packers are because they just drafted A.J. Dillon. And obviously,
he's ranked 33rd.
Who?
Jones.
Well, he had a phenomenal year. He had a lot of touchdowns.
Right, but so what I'm saying is that might justify the fact that we're both wavering on like Aaron Jones, but then Mark's 44. It does justify it. So I'm trying to look at both sides of this here. You know what I mean? Because if you're going to rank Aaron Jones 33, or what did I say?
No, I agree with you. I don't think Aaron
Yeah,
Jones should be
33.
that high at all. I mean, I agree with you.
Like, he's ranked above Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, that's nonsense.
Yeah.
To me, I mean, I don't know. Maybe we're not giving Aaron Jones enough credit, but look, there's a reason Green Bay went and grabbed A.J. Dillon from Boston College.
Yeah.
It's not because – and this is coming off Aaron Jones, like you said, like by far his breakout season. I mean, he was incredible in fantasy.
And as a side note, if you guys haven't seen A.J. Dillon, I did some research on him because I was turned on him in the draft. In the cold up in Green Bay in the second half, people are not going to want to feel that guy coming at him.
Yeah, what's he like, 245 and runs a 4.4?
Yeah, it's crazy. He
might even be more than that.
250. I think he was 250.
Yeah, he's huge.
And he's a truck. And when he gets cold up there, them fingers start getting brittle. Those bones start getting no, sir. That's going to be an interesting one.
One of the most puzzling drafts ever. I mean, I know we're going off on a thing, but a team that made to the NFC Championship was this close to going to the Super Bowl, and they draft a quarterback and a running back when they have Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones.
And Aaron Rodgers has given no signals that he's ready to retire. In fact, the opposite.
He wants to play till 45.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, now let's just get off of that. So, yeah, I mean, now there's one guy that's missing from the list that we have been told afterwards would have been on the list had he chose to continue playing. That's Marshall Yanda. They would have penciled him in at number 87. Obviously, another phenomenal year by Marshall Yanda, and I think there's no reason anyone could, expect him to have dipped at all if he was to decide to come back. But of course, he decided to hang up the cleats, lose some weight, go fishing, spend some more time with his family. But he would have been penciled in at 87 in case anyone did not hear that.
Yeah. And the other thing I want to do, this is as far as the league goes, not necessarily the Ravens, but I know we're getting a little long-winded here, but I got to lean in on this because I do not like Josh Allen. Speaking of number 87, he came in at 87. And two quarterbacks that come to my mind that were not on this list, Carson Wentz and Matt Ryan. If I'm not mistaken, Matt Ryan's not on this list, right? Or am I crazy?
I didn't see him, but I'll double check.
So, to me, first of all, I don't think that Josh Allen deserves to be on this list. I don't think he's done anything in a big moment yet. He's made plays, don't get me wrong, but he's had zero big moments. Yeah. And his completion percentage has never been over 60% yet in his career.
Right.
You're a quarterback. You're a quarterback, dude. Number two, I would take Carson Wentz with one arm. Look, Carson Wentz, people talk about his injuries. Did you know that Carson Wentz has missed less games in his career than Deshaun Watson?
Really?
Less games than Deshaun Watson. Yep. People don't think about it. And the fact that they went to the Super Bowl and did all that with his backup. But what was Carson Wentz before his backup? I mean, he was Mahomes MVP. Before Mahomes. Now, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I'm just saying that the stats he was putting up were insane before he got hurt.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely. And all of it gets highlighted because of everything that happened with Nick Foles. But I think that with the offense they have this year, I'm telling you what, Carson Wentz is going to have an incredible year, I think, with the draft picks they have, the players they have. If Deshaun can stay healthy with Rager, and then obviously you got Ertz. So anyway, I think Carson is deserving to be on this list, and I think Matt Ryan is as well over Josh Allen. To me, it's not really a statistical breakdown here. It's an eyeball test, and I'd take both of them over Josh Allen next year. Period. Okay. 20 yards down the field. If you're making a throw 20 yards down the field, Josh Allen can't hit the broadside of a barn, dude. Like, he can throw it 1,000,000 miles an hour, but he's like that. You remember that kid in Little League that like matured real fast and had a mustache and 9-10 baseball
and peaked?
He was going to hit you in your head, or he was going to throw a strike.
Yeah.
Like, that makes me think of Josh Allen. Anyway, I'm off my high horse.
Well, I mean, the only thing I tend to agree with you. I think he got probably a lot of praise for his team's success and the fact that they got back into the playoffs, and they lost, but they got back into the playoffs. Played the Texans tough. But yeah, I kind of agree with you. I mean, I don't know how, unless I'm missing Matt Stafford isn't on this list. I would definitely take Matt Stafford over
even him. Coming off the injury, right? I mean, even still.
Yeah, I mean, I would. That's just me. I mean, I don't know if I think all these other guys are on the list. I'm pretty sure. I'm looking at like the top quarterbacks. I don't see any other quarterbacks that jump out other than Matt Stafford that I don't think was on the list.
Right.
I hope I didn't miss him.
No,
but,
he's not. He's not.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with you. I think he got him. I was a little shocked to see Kyler Murray on the list.
Yeah.
You know, he was a little lower. I think he was
90.
Was he 90? Okay, yeah. I was a little shocked to see Kyler Murray make the list. And when you think about Kyler Murray, what is he on this list? He's like the 10th quarterback, 11th quarterback to make the list. And I go back to Mark Andrews didn't make it, but Kyler did. I mean, who's closer to the top of their position? I mean, how's Justin Tucker, the best kicker in the game, not make the list, but the 11th or 12th quarterback in Kyler Murray makes the list? To me, I don't know. It's just some goofy stuff, but yeah, I mean, I agree. I think Josh Allen probably benefited from his team's success. But I don't want to bash because I like Josh Allen. He's he's similar to Cam Newton. You know, he's a big physical runner. Now he's got that cannon for an arm. He needs to work on some accuracy and some touch, and he needs to play big in big moments. But you know, a lot of people say that same criticism about Lamar when you look at his playoffs. You know, his playoff lack of success. Even though if you look at big moments in general, he was phenomenal on primetime games. He had multiple 5-touchdown, no interception games. So he's not always, he didn't play – the team didn't play well in the playoffs, but, he's played big in big moments plenty.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest moment I think of Josh Allen is when Marcus Peters broke up that pass, and that would have essentially put him over the top in the game against us.
Well, in the playoff, he had moments in the playoffs he could have won the game for him.
Yeah,
and they didn't.
Right. Well, so yeah, those are things that come to my mind, and it doesn't happen. So anyway, tell us your guys' thoughts.
Yeah.
What do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? We had some gripes there. Let us know if you agree with us, especially on the Ronnie Stanley thing. I think at the end of the day, that was probably our biggest gripe as far as the Ravens go, and Mark Andrews not being on the list.
Tucker,
those two things, and so let us know what you guys think. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. Give us a like. Leave us your comments below, and we'll be sure to interact with you guys. And we'll talk to you guys soon.
See you.